These are uncertain times, so we're gathering virtually this year to remember the lives of those that we know who have passed away while experiencing homelessness, and to recognize that there may be more. The names that we're going to be reading today, they were submitted by my colleagues with the Client Action Committee. We received those names through word of mouth. Everyone on the Client Action Committee is someone who is or has been homeless. And we also receive a list of names through the emergency shelters in the city. Our policies when it comes to the names is we accept both real names as well as street names, because many of us who are on the streets who are trying to serve memory may not have ever known someone's real name, and we may have always known them by that street names. And we think that that's important, and that doesn't invalidate the memory in any way whatsoever. Each person deserves to be remembered, and they deserve to have their lives honored. So we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today to do just that. It's an annual event held in Calgary. It's also held in many other cities all across the world. And what it's designed is it's to commemorate lives that we've lost while experiencing homelessness and lives we've lost to homelessness in the city of Calgary. It's important because a lot of these people pass away without any dignity. They get a very humble funeral. Oftentimes, not a lot of people will attend. Even their street family, they often don't even find out about funeral arrangements for their friends on the streets. So this is an opportunity as well for people who are on the streets to honor those they've lost, and to have that time to hold memory.
My name is Marion Larat, and I'm here to say a prayer for the homeless people, the ones that have no place to go. We're going to ask the Creator in a humble way to pity them, help them find a place to stay, give them the courage and strength we need. We'll call on the 4 directions and ask the Creator for help. Find them a warm place to sleep, something to eat, make them find their own home. I ask for courage, strength, kindness, love and kindness for them. I'm also going to say a prayer for the ones who went on before us. They went home, and we call it the happy hunting grounds. And we pray for their souls and the loved ones they left behind to accept. And always, always be kind. I ask the Creator to forgive us if we make a mistake, and to teach us, and to help us, and put us all where we're supposed to be, that we can help other people, that we can help them, give them the courage and strength they need to seek in the right places. And I'm going to ask for a prayer for all the people that are helping them. I know it's hard to ask for help, but if they need help, you see them hurting, try to help them. Hey, thank you.
having personally experienced homelessness myself, I not just understand their plight, but I lost an innumerable number of friends and family while on the streets. Um, every year, I always like to talk about a particular friend of mine who I lost. Her name was Sherry. We were in a lot of clubs together. We were both aspiring actors, and we were in a lot of theater-based clubs that specifically worked with members of the homeless community. And in multiple performances, she actually played my wife, and she passed away of cancer. And I went to her funeral. I was at least notified about that, and the funeral was arranged by her family. And her family misgendered her the entire funeral, and it felt like I was going to a stranger's funeral, and that was a bit of a breaking point for me. Um, Having lost innumerable friends, it was me and Randy Pages and a couple of friends held the first longest night of the year. I think 7 or 8 years ago now, and yeah, it was a good experience for us, and it was kind of healing for us, and it's great to see that this event has grown so much over the years. Many of the individuals who have passed on this year and in years past, they were our friends, they were our family. Some of them were acquaintances. Um, and I truly believe that everyone deserves the dignity of being honored and remembered in in this way, by their peers. This is, I think, the one last attempt at dignity that we can grant someone. This could be the only commemoration of their lives. Um, and Many of these people don't have any formal remembrance. Memorials aren't just for those who are departed, they're for those of us who are left behind. This allows us, their families, their loved ones, their friends, and those who care about them to gather together and honor them. And that doesn't just go to one day a year. We honor them in everything that we do going forward. That's part of what it means to be a family. That's part of what it means to be part of a community. But I think this is important for those of us who are left behind to be able to have that space as well, to honor and to reflect. And it's part of our healing process and part of our grieving process. So we have no clue how this year's events have impacted the homeless population in terms of demographics and numbers. But at the last point in time count, it was 3,000 Calgarians were experiencing homelessness on any given night, roughly. And whenever we've done this memorial over the past several years, we're having well over 100 people pass away every year just in this city. And I don't want to reduce the deaths of members of the homeless community to statistics, but something that often drives the point home is that in the late 80s, the United Nations declared a state of emergency in Canada regarding homelessness. And that state of emergency was because there was 100 members of the homeless community nationwide dying every year. We are now getting that in just one city. And we're not the only major city in Canada that experiences homelessness. Toronto does memorial services on a monthly basis. Vancouver as well, and the greater Vancouver area and Victoria. So it's important to notice that that this is an issue. This is an issue that's costing people lives. But to reduce the deaths of members of this community to just a statistic does an injustice. The important thing to remember is that these are people. These are friends. These are sons, daughters. aunts, uncles, mothers. And not just that, but as a street community, we also have a family within the community. We use the term like street mama or street sister, street brother. Um, and so this is something that's impacting a community, that's impacting families. These are human beings. The first year was myself and a colleague on the Client Action Committee, Randy. We had spent time in the shelter together. We had gotten to know each other fairly well. And we wanted to do something. And the Client Action Committee was completely on board with it, but there wasn't enough time to actually prepare proper events. So what we did that year was it was just myself, Randy, and a couple of friends that we invited. And we told them to spread it by word of mouth as best as they could. And so we had about 6 of us show up at a park, and we had candles and coffee. It was just a bunch of friends wanting to honor the people that they miss. And so we had some coffee and some candles, and we swapped stories about the people that we care about. We had some people who were going past us on the streets who were wondering what was going on, and they asked us, and they had their stories to share. And by the end of that night, our group had actually doubled because people were interested in what we were doing, and they had stuff that they had to get off their chest as well. So it was a very healing process. And then the next year, the Client Action Committee started planning very early, and we were collecting all the names that we could over the past as far back as we could remember. That first event that we did, we wanted to honor everyone that we could find out about, whether it was us, what we combed through obituaries of newspapers. We talked to people and about anyone that they had lost ever on the streets. So we were a very committed group. We wanted to make sure that first year we didn't miss anything. And well, of course, records can only go back so far, and records are so incomplete. But yeah, the Client Action Committee, we're a group of people who have been on the streets, all of us. Every single one of us is someone who has experienced homelessness. Every single one of us is someone who has lost someone to homelessness. Every single one of us is someone who is lucky to be here today despite being homeless. And there are some of us who are still living on the streets as well. So but what we've done is, as a group, we have decided that people who are homeless are people who still deserve dignity, are people who still deserve human rights. And the longest night of the year completely falls in line with that mission. And it's not just a mission because it's something that we have on a mission statement or a piece of paper in a room somewhere. It's a mission statement that's written in our hearts because all of us have been there. Some of us are there. And all of us have lost someone to homelessness.
As we gather virtually to remember the people we have lost, I would like to start today by offering each of you my sincere condolences. Many of the people we are remembering today are fathers and mothers and daughters and sons and friends. Each one of them has lived a life that is to be cherished and honored. And today we have a safe space to remember them and cherish the memories of them with love and reflect on the tremendous impacts and the lessons they have left on us. So we are brought together by loss, but together we can inspire hope and healing and change. The Calgary Homeless Foundation is so grateful to have a part in supporting this annual memorial, which allows us all to gather together and to remember and to heal. And we promise to continue our work to ensure every Calgarian has access to a home, the foundation upon which all healing and recovery can happen. I hope that you will join me in continuing to pay tribute to our cherished friends and families after we leave here today. Be well and take care.
The Client Action Committee is the advisory group for the Calgary Homeless Foundation. We advise them on how to perform any functions that they do with dignity, respecting homeless individuals. And the CHF's role in backing this and supporting this has been amazing. They largely finance this event in years where we are able to gather in person, and we will be able to do that again and soon, I believe. They have provided food for the participants, and that includes members of the homeless community. We've made sure that it's warm through drinks. And they've provided this platform for those of us on the Client Action Committee to come forward and honor people that we love and that we miss. It's definitely an overwhelming feeling, knowing that I can be part of this, and that something that I co-started has grown so much. It kind of helps reaffirm that this is important. This is important to members of the homeless community. This is important to the organizations that try to serve them. This is important to Calgary. This is important to the family members of those who are no longer with us. This is important to me as an individual. So I think seeing so many people want to be part of this, so many people participating, so many people wanting to be part of this is amazing. And I think we still have a lot of work to do, and we absolutely want this to be an event for the homeless community that they can be part of, that they're not excluded of. So we're still working on making this better with that in mind, and who this is for. So, but yeah, seeing the impact this has had on so many people has definitely been overwhelming, to say the least.
Hello, I'm Nahid Nenshi, Mayor of Calgary. And I'm sorry that this year we're not able to get together in person, in community, on the longest night of the year. 2020 has been a year that has taken so much from us, but it has also reminded us about the importance of compassion, the importance of caring, and the importance of kindness. Because everything we've been asked to do in this year is something we've been asked to do for someone else. But I'm glad we're able to get together virtually in any case, and I have an important mayor job to do. So here we go. The Longest Night of the Year Memorial is an annual public event hosted by the Client Action Committee with support from the Calgary Homeless Foundation. It is an opportunity to commemorate those who have lost their lives while experiencing homelessness. Whereas this year marks the 6th anniversary of this important candlelight memorial. Whereas relationships that are formed and sustained amongst the homeless community can be just as important as biological family connections. Whereas every person who passes has the right to a dignified memorial service where friends and family gather to mourn, reflect, and remember. On behalf of City Council and the citizens of Calgary, I hereby proclaim December 21st, 2020 as the longest night of the year. Thank you to the Client Action Committee. Thank you to the Calgary Homeless Foundation. Thank you to everyone who keeps our homeless brothers and sisters in their hearts tonight on the longest night of the year, and on every night and every day.
There is no good way to die. But when we think about our end of days, we hope it'll be peaceful. We hope we can be surrounded by loved ones. We hope we can be asleep in our own bed. For those without a home, that's not always the case. There are some people in the shelter system, and I imagine some rough sleepers, who do get that peaceful passing away. but there's often no comfort. As I said earlier about what the funeral experience is like, sometimes they're lucky enough that word of the funeral gets out. Shelters will often hold their own memorial events when possible. So it's often a very lonely passing. We do have organizations who do try and provide some form of end of life care for those on the streets. So at this point, I'd like to thank the camp team who provides palliative care for the homeless, as well as Connect to Care, who connect patients who are experiencing homelessness with social supports and healthcare needs during hospital stays and once they are discharged.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this memorial. It's such an important and sacred time to honor and recognize all the people that we've lost this year. I had 3 thoughts that I was hoping to share. First, 2020 has sucked, and it's okay and it's important that we grieve what a crappy year this was. We faced an unprecedented pandemic. We've lost hundreds of lives due to the overdose crisis. People have been isolated, marginalized, disconnected. We've had people dying without their family close by in just undignified ways. And it's important that we grieve that and learn from it. The second thing is that despite that, there's been some amazingly beautiful things happening in Calgary. People have come together in creative ways. I've seen programs come together in ways that I would not have guessed possible a couple of years ago. We've had leaders in government publicly acknowledge that homelessness is a public health crisis and it's a solvable crisis. And the third thing is that I think that we really need to remember what's important. One of the things that I'm very fortunate in my line of work, working with people at the end of lives, is that I get to see people understand where their priorities lie. I had one guy this year who, our last interaction, he tried to give me a pair of bright pink sweatpants to match my tie. And I laugh about that. But what it really showed was how much he cared about the people around him and how much he wanted to make them happy right till the end. And I think we as a society have been kind of facing that right now. We're around death so much. We're seeing what's important. Tonight is the longest night of the year. It gets better after this. The days get longer. We see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's important that as we move out of this and as we start to build a new normal, that we remember to grieve all this injustice and this inequity that we've seen, and remember how big an impact it has had, and remember also the beautiful things that we've been able to do and the accomplish. And just as we build this new normal in the coming months and years, let's build a better one. Thanks.
For those who are watching this on video, the background I have behind me is rather symbolic. It is the Potter's Field in Calgary, which is located on one of the cemeteries along McLeod Trail, just past Earlton Station. And for those who are beyond our records, who we have no records of, this is a place where they used to bury the homeless population in the pre-war times, pre-World War II times. But you'll notice that behind me is an empty field, and further back are more gravestones. The empty field with the trees and all that stuff is where people who are homeless used to be buried. There's very few records of their names, and I just want to have this here as my background as a way to honor all those who have been forgotten to time and forgotten to memory, to know that we still try and honor them in some way, that the homeless community who had passed away before there were any records kept, that I honor you and that I remember you, and that I hope you may rest in power. But we are also have been working on having a permanent memorial set up where we can hold our events in the future, and a place that is homeless friendly.
My name's Jessica Shaw, and I'm a project lead of the Calgary Homeless Memorial Project. The Calgary Homeless Memorial Project will see the creation of a permanent public memorial space where people can gather to honor the lives of those who have died in our city while experiencing homelessness. The project is happening through the partnership of the University of Calgary, Calgary Homeless Foundation, and the City of Calgary. But it's important to remember that the driving force and the voices who have identified the need and the importance of having a permanent public memorial site are the people who have experienced homelessness in Calgary. And it is folks who have experienced homelessness, and many of whom are still experiencing homelessness or living in poverty, who have been the driving force in conceptualizing the idea of this project, clarifying why it's important, and really are seeing through the design process from the beginning right through to the end. Many of those of you who are watching probably attended either a town hall to think through some of the ideas of this project. Perhaps you donated to our GoFundMe campaign. I also want to acknowledge the significant financial contributions of the Beltline Community Investment Fund and the Calgary Homeless Foundation who are going to see this project realized. Those of you who are at the Longest Night of the Year memorial service on December 21st, 2019, might remember that we were able to announce the permanent location of the memorial site. The permanent location is on the north side of 13th Avenue between Center and 1st Street Southeast. And if you walk down there at some point in the next little while, or if you've been down there at some point over the past year, you'll know that there's a marker that's installed about 8 feet up around a lamppost that says that this is the future site of the Calgary Homeless Memorial Project. Now, we had hoped to have the memorial site installed and to do our unveiling for this year's Longest Night of the Year memorial service on December 21st. Because of COVID, because of the year that 2020 has been, we've decided against both installation and unveiling the project at this time and are postponing both of those items until spring of 2021. I want to take a moment, though, to talk a little bit about what the space will look like, because I know many of you are very invested in this project and are looking forward to the time when we can gather on site to honor and reflect and remember those who've lived and died because of homelessness. So what I'd like to offer tonight is the plaque that will be installed. It reads, "In this space, we remember and honor our neighbors, family, and friends, known and unknown, who have lived and died because of the traumas of homelessness. In past, present, and future, may they rest in power." Like every aspect of the project, the wording for the plaque was designed and it was come up by people who have experience with homelessness, as have the multimedia art forms that are going to exist on site, ranging from a carved bench to a bronze sculpture, to murals, to a poem that will be etched in a pillar. All of those design ideas come from the creative minds of people who have experienced homelessness in Calgary. Some of the artists who are involved are from Canadian Artists Against Poverty, from Fuse 33, from Studio West Bronze Foundry. I look forward to the time when we can be together in person, when it's safe to do so, hopefully in spring of 2021, so that we can see and honor and be grateful for the art that is being offered for this project. Details about the unveiling will be released when we have a better idea of when it's safe to do so. And so tonight, on this longest night of the year, December 21st, 2020, I will just close by taking a moment to acknowledge and honor the 196 people that we know of who have died while experiencing homelessness in Calgary this year. In a country as wealthy as ours, in a province as wealthy as ours, there is no need for anyone to die because of the effects of homelessness. In this moment, moving forward, and when it's safe to do so together in person, I honor and acknowledge the lives that have been lost. And I also honor and acknowledge all of our community members for making the creation of this permanent site possible. It's really when we work together as community that we can create not just public art spaces, but move towards ending homelessness. Until I see you in the spring, I offer my love and care, and thank you for trusting me to be one of the leads for this important project.
Like I said, we've been keeping records, and we do our best to make sure that there is no name that is left off that list. So if you think that someone may have been forgotten, we would absolutely encourage you to let us know so we don't make that mistake in the future. And we also try to make sure that that name then gets included in future events. For those of you who are viewing, we'd like to thank you for watching and participating. We would like to thank you for being part of this event. If you've been part of this event in years past, we thank you for that. And we look forward to future events where we can gather and remember in person. And I certainly hope that that this year sees us all well and safe. And may all those that we've lost this year rest in power. Thank you all for joining us.
Aaron, Alan, Alana, Albert, Alona, Emmanuel, Anita, Arvid, Ashlyn, Austin, Barry, Benjamin, Bernard, Vikash, Bonnie, Brandon, Brandy, Brenda, Brian, Brittany, Bruce, Cameron, Carl, Carmen, Chadwick, Chancey, Chantel, Chris, Christina, Christopher, Clark, and Cliff.
Colin, Corby, Crystal, Dale, Daniel, Daryl, Daryl, David, Dean, Delina, Dennis, Derek, Donald, Doug, Dustin, Dylan, L, Ebane, Edwin, Elisa, Elizabeth, Aaron, Faye, Francine, Gabriel, Garrett, Gerald, Gloria, Gone, Grace, Gregory, Harry.
Ian, Isaac, Janet, Janie, Jason, Jeffrey, Joe, Jacob, James, Joe, John, Joseph, Joshua, Carson, Kane, Kelsey, Ken, Kenneth, Kent, Kevin, Kyle, Kevin, Kyle, Lance, Larisha,
Leighton, Leon, Leonard, Leslie, Lester, Linda, Lisa Ann, Lorena, Lorne, Lucas, Marvin, Melissa, Melvin, Michael, Michelle, Mike, Miranda, Mo, Murray, Naomi, Natasha, Naomi, Pat, Paul, Pete, Randall, Randy, Rashid, Reginald, Ruben, Rex, Richard,
Riley, Robert, Rolly, Ron, Ronald, Roosevelt, Sarah, Sean, Shaylin, Shannon, Shirley, Sikander, Stacy, Stephen, Teron, Terjin, Thomas, Tim, Todd, Tyrone, Vanessa, Vera, Ward, Wayne, Werner, William, Wileen, Yannick,